No. See, again, this is so frustrating to never know when you're starting, because either you cut it off or you end up looking stupid at the beginning. But I think we're starting now. So that's why it's always good to have a smile on your face, since you never know. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Before I introduce today's guest, I just want to let you know that my book is now available on Amazon. It's my third venture with Glenn Mercer. It's called Own Your Health. It's his story told in a very humorous way, and my recipes. And if you email us your receipt at Chef AJ Bonus, as the bonus or bonuses, I'll clarify that in a minute in the chat, at yahoo.com, between now and the 18th of October at midnight, we will send you the audio files of the book for free, which will soon be available on Audible, as well as many, many bonus recipes and videos. So I'll put that information in the chat box below. And now I'd like to introduce today's guest. I'm so excited because she's making quiche, vegan quiche. That means no eggs, no dairy. And that's always, I grew up with a French chef. I lived with my aunt, if you know my story, and she was a French chef. And so quiche is something that's near and dear to my heart. She's a dear friend. She's doing a lot of great things in the world, both as a PCRM cooking instructor and now as a producer for UnChained. And she'll tell you all about that network. That's why my show is at 11, guys, so that you can leave here and then go watch her show at 12 o'clock. Please welcome Lisa Karlan. Thanks so much for being here.
This is so much fun to do a show with you, AJ. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. And thank you for such wonderful guest recommendations. And very early on,
and I've got some more.
You're like the who's who. Like if you need to know something, Lisa will connect you. And I said, who would be great for the show? And you hooked me up with so many great people, and they'll be on.
I've got some more for you. I want to give you all the Institute of Plant-Based Medicine doctors. You need to do them. And I've been making a list, so I'll forward it to you.
I really appreciate that. So you do so much. Where will you start? PCRM, UnChained?
So I started with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I went through the training in 2012. So I've been doing that since 2012. I've been attending their annual meeting every year. This is the first year we didn't have a physical meeting, although I attended the meeting virtually. And I think it's just an incredible organization. I learned so much. And it's all evidence-based medicine. So you can really wrap your head around it, and you know you're not getting hype and marketing, you're getting science. For those of us that believe in science. I know there's some people that actually don't, but that's not my tribe.
Yeah, we won't talk about them. You won't see them on this show, but thank you for saying that. We love PCRM so much.
And you won't see them on my show either. So I'm very careful about who I have on my show. And we've actually had a lot of the same people on our shows, which is wonderful because I think we reach different audiences, although I think blending the audience is wonderful, but it just gets the word out. And the whole idea is to get the word out so people really understand this isn't some fringe type of dietary plan. This is actually good science. In fact, it's not a dietary plan, it's a lifestyle. So, I mean, my story is, my mom, I'll start off by telling a little bit of why I'm so passionate about this. So my mom had 2 autoimmune diseases. She had rheumatoid arthritis and ulcerative colitis. And she was on steroids my entire life. And when I was 21, she had a massive infection and she died. And it was horrible. And when I look at her diet, it was basically white things, white bread, chicken breast, no fiber. Fiber was called roughage, and that's bad for people with ulcerative colitis. That's what they thought at this time. Now the thinking is fiber is actually good for ulcerative colitis. I didn't know what beans were until I was in college because I never had beans because they were roughage. So I grew up basically on a fiberless diet, very little fiber in my diet. Although I did have vegetables, I did learn to like vegetables, and she used to make vegetables, but she had difficulty keeping weight on. And for people who can't lose weight, it's just as hard and maybe harder to try to put weight on when you have to. So she died of a massive infection, probably something perforated her colon, and she was so unstable they couldn't even do a surgical repair, and she died within 24 hours. I was 21 and she was 50. So now that I'm 66 years old, it's like I never knew my mom when she was, older than 50. So 50 was a very strange year for me because that was the year that I became older than my mom was. But then when my dad was 59 and I was 29, he died of cardiovascular disease because he did all the things that people do. They smoke. He didn't drink, but he did smoke, and he had a very difficult time giving up nicotine. He was seriously addicted. And I didn't really understand because I did smoke when I was in my early 20s, but I smoked about a pack a week. So I never thought it was a lot. And by the time I was 25, I decided it was just a terrible habit. I didn't like how I smelled, and I quit. And honestly, for me, it wasn't a big deal. But that, I understand, is not the majority of people, and they really struggle with it. So if all my parents, I lost my parents. I'm an only child. I've been an orphan since I was 21. Now, it could have been worse. I could have been less than 21, but I had to go through all the milestones really by myself. I have cousins and uncles and aunts, but it's not like losing your parents. So when I discovered a plant-based diet back in 2012, when a friend of mine was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer, and I will tell you, she is alive and thriving today. During her chemotherapy, she said she was going to adopt a vegan diet, a vegan macrobiotic diet, in fact. And of course, I didn't know anything about any of those things. And of course, I thought that she lost her mind. I thought she had something called chemo brain. And I was bringing her chicken soup. And then one day she handed me a whole stack of papers that she had printed out. And it was things written by Esselstyn and Dr. Greger and Dr. McDougall and Dr. Esselstyn and all these really great articles. And I didn't believe them. I read the references. I read the references to the references to the references to the references. And I came back 2 weeks later to see her. And now I absolutely looked like I had cancer, because I was staying up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning reading papers and trying to figure out how I thought I was well educated, but I guess I wasn't, how I didn't know this. And after I reached a threshold of really understanding that I never learned this, I went to nursing school, practiced for a while. I didn't hear anything about this. In fact, people thought I was crazy when I talked about it. So I did it, and I dropped 30 pounds. My cholesterol fell about 100 points, from 220 to 120. I know it's not as low as yours, AJ. Yours is what, 99?
Yeah, well, that was one time. I mean, who knows? But yes, it's low.
So I lost weight. My cholesterol went down. My fasting blood sugar, I was considered pre-diabetic. That was gone. And once I realized those things, and once I realized that I lost my parents from foodborne illnesses, that I absolutely had to change my life. And then I thought the whole world should know. And then I was one of those obnoxious vegans that was trying to convert everybody because I had found veganism, and I thought it's just the way for people to not have to suffer. So it took me a few years to sort of settle down and not be that crazy vegan. And but I think a lot of people, when they have a massive change, undergo that. So I'm very respectful when I see new vegans in there. It's like, I used to be like you. It doesn't work. People aren't going to go vegan with that attitude. So it took me a while to figure it out, but I did. And then I learned about PCRM, they want to be known as Physicians Committee now. So For Responsible Medicine is like smaller type, but they're really called Physicians Committee, and they're in Washington, D.C. They're a nonprofit. They're 35 years old, and they have done not only tremendous research, and Dr. Barnard is on faculty at George Washington University School of Medicine. So the research they do is all university-based research. It's not just someone saying, oh, I'm going to do a study. So it's legitimate research, and published in peer-reviewed journals, which is the gold star of how you look at research. You want to make sure it's published in reputable, rigorous journals. And it changed my life. Then in 2015, I met Jane Velez-Mitchell, and I kind of always wanted to secretly be a journalist, but I never did that in school. And I just started. She needed somebody. We did lunch break lives, and it was the days when we would go to people's houses, and the two of us would do lunch break lives until finally she got sick of it because she realized we probably both didn't need to be doing it. It could be one or the other. And then we split up. So she did some and I did some, and then we added some other contributors, and now we have 70 contributors around the world contributing to the Jane UnChained News Network. And so I'm going to start my dish, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about my show. So we're going to make a vegan quiche, and let me show you my ingredients. Let's see if I can push the computer down and show you some of the ingredients. So the crust is going to be made by Trader Joe's shredded hash browns. They're just, the ingredients are potatoes. There's nothing in it, no salt, no oil, nothing. So it's just hash browns already cut for you. We're going to use this product made by Just, called the Just Egg, and it's basically a liquid egg, but it is 100% vegan, and it's made primarily out of mung beans. Let's see what else. Yeah, water and mung beans, and then protein isolate are the top ingredients. It does have some canola oil in it and some thickeners, but I got to tell you, it scrambles and it does taste like egg. So that's going to bind everything together. We're going to use a couple different types of cheeses. I have the Daiya Shredded Cheddar style, and then this is my favorite, Miyoko's Creamery, and it's the vegan cultured pepper jack cheese, and it's also in shreds. Okay, now this is not healthy. This is the vegan cultured butter that's made out of coconut oil. So let me tell you a little bit about coconut oil. So I really don't like palm oil. I mean, the earth balance tastes great, but it's made from palm products. And no matter how sustainable they say they are, it's destroying the rainforest. It's destroying the habitat for the orangutans. Clearly, the coconut oil has as much or more fat than saturated fat in butter. So it's highly saturated. Coconut oils are highly saturated. So I made the decision that when I'm going to use butter, which is not going to be very often, it certainly wouldn't come from an animal. So I'll use Miyoko's, even though it's high in saturated fat, but I don't use it. This is going to last me a month or more because I don't use it very often. And at least I feel that I'm not violating my ethics in terms of the rainforest and the orangutans and all the palm products. So I really try, and Chef AJ shaking her head, I really try to not use palm products wherever I can. Now, I'm not perfect, but I really make an effort, and I think that's all we have to do. It's progress, not perfection. So then we have some red pepper, and I dice this up. And it just takes a little bit of time, but you can even dice it up ahead of time and put it in the refrigerator. And I chopped up very finely some organic broccoli florets. I got those from Trader Joe's. And then I cut up 2 red onions because it's gonna be onions and leeks, and the base is gonna be the red peppers. So I want it to be colorful, and the broccoli. And then these are leeks. And I don't know, leeks are sort of, people let's see, is the light okay, AJ? Mm-hmm. There. So people don't realize they have such a wonderful flavor, and they just give soup. So if you make potato leek soup, it's just different than onions. So I often mix them with onions. So let me show you. I'm going to start we're going to water saute the onions. So here you can see this over here. So let me get this hot. Okay, so we're going to get this nice and hot. I have a little water right over here. And I'm going to grab the leeks, and they come, you can either buy them trimmed, Trader Joe's sells them trimmed, or you can trim them yourself. So there's a hard green layer. If you buy them trimmed, the hard green layer is gone. But I like to buy them trimmed because it's less work. And then I take the leek, which is about this long, and I cut it in half. Now I already chopped these because I'm not going to spend the show chopping leeks, but I want to show you how to chop this one. So what I do is I cut it in half longitudinally, and then I take this piece and I'm going to try to cut it in thirds. So, instead of going straight down in half, I'm going to cut it this way, I'm going to cut it this way, and we're going to have thirds. Because that way it's going to give me less work. And then I'm just going to turn it around, keeping my fingers curled down, and just, cut them into pieces. I'm holding them together. It starts to fall apart in my hands, but I'm just squeezing them here. And believe me, it's worth it. They give such great flavor. And I've been making potato leek soup, which is so wonderful because I do it in the Instant Pot. And all I really do is take onions and celery and Yukon Gold potatoes and leeks. I'll saute the onions and the leeks first, and then I'll do it on the saute function in the Instant Pot. And then I add the water. And I think I do it for like, I don't know, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends how small I chop the potatoes. And then I take it and I put it in the blender with probably a 1/4 cup of raw cashews. And that just gives it body and makes it very creamy. And then I just season it. Lemon, maybe Benson's Table Tasty, something to give it some salty flavor. Throw in some herbs, and it is wonderful. And the thing is, I make the potato leek soup, and I like it in the summertime because I just get it cold and put fresh dill on it. Okay, so let's do this over here. This is going to sizzle.
Do you buy your leeks already pre-washed?
Yeah, I do. Trader Joe's has them, and it's just I'll show you the package. Let me show you the package. Can you see?
Nice.
So they're pre-washed. This one and then I just cut, I cut the ends off. It is dark. I cut the ends off. Okay, so I have my spatula right over here. All right, let's see. Over here. And they're already starting. So I have just a little bit of water. And I like using the silicone spatula. And this is actually stainless steel. It's an all-clad stainless steel pan. And hot pan, drop the onions in, and there's absolutely no oil. Absolutely no oil. And then I just let it cook. I'm going to turn it down. Mine goes from high to 6 to 1. So I'm going to turn it down to like a 5. And just keep my eye on it. And as it starts to get brown, I'm going to deglaze the pan with a little bit of water. Now, you don't want to use too much water because then you're going to really braise your onions. They still will caramelize, but yeah, they're starting to go. They still will caramelize. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll do double the onions so that I have some onions cooked for the next day. Then all I have to do is heat them up. And I put them in these cute little ramekins that I have with lids, and then I keep them. Yeah, I'll show you. These are my new favorite toy. Here, let me show you these. It's called Signature. So look at these. These are porcelain, and it's a porcelain container, and it has this plastic lid with a little piece that burps it. So you can push on it, get the air out, and then go like this, and then it keeps it. And then you can actually, if I make oatmeal, I can actually eat right out of it because this is sort of a nice bowl. So these are, I love toys and things like that.
Yeah. Nice.
I found them, now it's my favorite gift. I'm giving them to everybody for presents. So these are starting to get brown.
So tell us a little bit about your show, Lisa.
Okay, thank you for getting me back on track. So my show is called, and really it was born out of COVID because we weren't going to do lunch break lives anymore, and we weren't going to go report on various events because of COVID. Jane wanted to make sure that we, none of us were going to get sick. So she wanted us to do lunch break lives at our house like this, solo, that we've been able to do. And I'm going to put these in right now. And putting in the leeks. Let's see. Can you see? There we go. So she wanted me to do a medical show because I have a medical background and a nursing degree. So I decided that I would just take all my favorite doctors and put them on my show. And the show starts, it's called Hey Doc, What's New in Plant-Based Medicine? And what I like to do is feature these physicians. I want people to know not only their medical specialty, but I want them to know a little bit about them. What's human about them? I had Dr. Heather Shankman on my show. She's an interventional cardiologist. She became a new mom, I guess about 9 or 10 months ago. And so I had her on the show, and I spent the first 15 minutes just talking about her and athletics and all the races that she ran. And I got photographs of her because I use a program called StreamYard, so I can put up photographs. So she was talking, and I was putting up pictures of her crossing the finish line. And she had such great stories to tell me, to tell the audience about that. And then she found a guy, and then she had a baby, and now she left her group practice. She has a solo practice in Sherman Oaks, California, and she's got it all. And I love it. She's just such an incredible role model, and she's vegan, and she's very, very concerned. She's an animal rights person as well. And I just think she's fantastic. So I look at each guest that I have, and I try to look at what's unique about them, and I bring them on. I had Melissa Mandala on my show a few weeks ago. You got to have her on your show, AJ.
I think she might be scheduled, actually.
Oh, she is a kick. And she does these great TikTok videos. I actually put up some of her TikTok videos during the show. It was really fun. And she is really rocking it. Do you have Angie? Is Angie Stickney on your show yet?
You know, I don't know if I've had pretty much everybody in her institute either on or already scheduled. She always is in my summit, though, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, no, she's wonderful.
So how do people watch your show? And tell us a little bit more about, is Jane just like a 24-hour vegan news network? And where's the best place to watch everything?
So the best place is her Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/Jane Velez, Velez, Mitchell, no hyphen. Facebook.com/Jane Velez-Mitchell. We also have a website and a blog called UnChained.com. So you can get past shows and see articles and photos about previous shows. And then we've got a YouTube channel. We don't have as many followers as you are. We're trying to build it, and subscribers, but it's called Jane, and then UnChained is the next word, news. So where JaneUnchained.com is all one word, but the Jane UnChained news is 3 words. And you can find us there. And then we have a Twitter, and that's @JVM.
In case people aren't familiar with who Jane is, she's going to be on the show, but maybe tell us just a little bit about who she is and what she's accomplished.
She was born to be an animal rights activist. She lives and breathes every day of her life to save animals. She wants to be the voice for animals. It's such a deep drive inside her. She feels there's no one to speak for them. She wants to speak for the animals. And we have hats that say, you know, videos for the voiceless. And that's really what we do. She is, how many time? I think a 4 or 5 time Genesis Award winner, that the Humane Society honored her as their Person of the Year for her animal rights activities. She is a New York Times best-selling author. She's written, God, I should know how many books. More than 3 books, 4 or 5 books. She's written a bunch of books. You're in her league now with your new book.
I can't wait to have her on the show, because she wrote one about addiction.
Yeah, she did. She wrote one about addiction. She's been sober 25 years now. So that's her big, her major accomplishment. And so when she left, so she was a local news anchor on CBS in Los Angeles with Jerry Dunphy. She spent time in Florida. She spent time in a couple other states. And then, but LA was sort of her home, but she's a New Yorker. And then she got hired by CNN's HLN, and she did crime, hated crime, but she did crime. You know, she got to go. She was in the courtroom with many of the big crime shows with Michael Jackson and I think O.J. Simpson as well. But she did a lot of crime, more crime than she'd ever want to think of. Okay, these are done. So let me get
Oh, that's beautiful. Diane likes your t-shirt. Is that one of your daughter's creations?
Okay, so I have to shout out to my daughter. There we go. So what she did is, it says just plants. And what she did to make it hers, first of all, our cousin is Stan Winston, and he actually designed the dinosaurs. He won the Academy Award for that. So they weren't going to sue us for ripping off his designs. But what she did is she took in the original Jurassic Park logo, it actually had the carnivorous dinosaurs. So she swapped them out for the herbivorous dinosaurs, and then instead of Jurassic Park, it says just plants.
That's adorable.
My daughter is on Instagram. She's I guess we could call her an influencer. So I'm going to put these in now too. So because this is going to cook for an hour, I don't really have to saute it. So I'm just going to kind of mix it in, and let's see if I can bring.
And Joy says, could you please repeat the name of those cute little ramekins with the plastic lid?
Oh, this is. It says Signature Housewares Incorporated, and you can either, I ordered them through Costco, but I don't know if Costco has them anymore. But there are other places that have it. Signature Housewares Incorporated, made in China. And if you look online, you'll be able to find them.
Thank you.
Storage containers. Just look up Signature, and I think, and they're not. I mean, I think a set of 6 is something like $45. So they're not outrageously expensive, but they're really good. So I'm just going to put these in and mix it up. These are the sweet red bell peppers. And to make it look pretty, I didn't, I cut the, what's the white in the pepper? It looks like a pith, but it doesn't look, I mean, it doesn't taste bad. It just doesn't look pretty. So I cut that out. So this is just all bright red. And now I'm going to put
love red bell pepper. I never cared for the green ones though.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that aren't ripe.
Yep.
So the yellow ones are good. The orange ones are good too. But the reds I think are my favorite. Okay. So I'm not going to worry that this is not going to cook, because it will cook when I get it into the quiche pan. Okay. How are we doing time-wise?
We're fine. Got at least another half hour.
Oh,
if
good.
you'd like it.
Oh, I can talk, because I want to tell everybody about all the projects that I'm doing. I have so many projects going on. But let's just talk a little more about Jane. All right, so here I bought this at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's Pyrex, and it was all of $5.99. So I've been making quiches, and because it's so inexpensive, if I give a friend a quiche, I actually give them the quiche pan, because it's so inexpensive. If it was $20, I probably wouldn't be able to afford to do that. Okay, so I'm going to get the butter out, and we will butter this. But this looks so pretty. It just makes me happy. It makes me happy to see it. You know, I look at these bright colors, and you know, the more brightly colored your food is, the higher the antioxidant value is. This Okay, so I'm just going to use a little bit of wax paper to smush the butter around it. So a little wax paper here. And here's my Miyoko's butter.
Didn't that win like a taste test or something, like as being as good as butter?
It is so good. It does taste like butter. It really does. I mean, it's dangerous having it in the house, but I try to be very careful about what I use it on. So if I'm not going to use oil for baking, if I'm going to bake something like this, then.
Wow. Infinite Love and Gratitude says that Miyoko has a smoky English farmhouse cheddar that's oil-free with very few ingredients. Is that something you buy or something you make? Because that sounds.
I didn't know it's oil-free. Really? I wonder what it's made with.
Kathleen says, is there a substitute for butter? What about maybe doing it in a silicone pan?
Yeah, you might be able to do it. I did it because I wanted that butter flavor. You certainly could. That's a great idea. And I think for people who want to really keep the fat part, the processed fat part out of their diet, I think that would be a great suggestion. I'm just going to put this because it's getting soft back in my refrigerator. I think that would be a great idea. In fact, I should try it and see how that turns out. That would be a much healthier version. All right, and gotta have a scissors in the kitchen. The ripping and tearing just doesn't work for me. Okay, and I'm just gonna rinse my hands off very quickly because I'm gonna use my hands to do this. So yeah, I want everybody to be able to see
I love those pre-shredded hash browns. I use them either in my panini press or my waffle maker. They make the crispest product.
Oh, they do. So let me sheet this here. So I'm going to put this down here, and then I'm just going to use my hands to kind of push it up the side. Now, this is a 16 ounce, or 20 ounce. This is a 20 ounce bag. I probably use about half of it. And it's really, I don't want to make it all, I want to have room for the vegetables and all the other things, but I want it to be thick enough, and I want to sort of push it so that it gets up on the side. And I'll show you with the one that I made what it looks like. So you just kind of eyeball it. I want to fill in the open spaces, but you can kind of just see how it does sort of go up on the side.
That's so clever.
Yeah.
Did you think of that yourself?
No, actually, I gotta give credit to my daughter. So my daughter's name is Taryn, and when she was born, I'm Jewish, in the Jewish faith, many Ashkenazi Jews will name a baby after someone who's passed away. And since my mother died when I was 21, I knew at that time that I would have a daughter. If I had a daughter, that she would have a name that would begin with a T, because my mother's name was Terry. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little of the shreds here. So I was looking in baby books when I was 21, before I even had a boyfriend. And I found the name Taryn, T-A-R-Y-N. And I knew when I was 21, if I had a daughter, she'd be named Taryn, because there are other T names. I probably wouldn't have named her my mother's name. I think that would have been too hard for me emotionally. Okay, so I'm just gently spreading some out here, not overdoing it. Because I think when you use vegan cheese, it does get oily. So it's not a one-to-one relationship when you're using vegan cheese. You wouldn't use the same amount of non-vegan cheese I haven't used non-vegan cheese since 2008, but it's not a one-to-one relationship. You always use less. And when I order pizza, if I get vegan cheese on it, I always ask them for a little bit less. All right, I'm going to put more of this on top. This one is the pepper jack. The other one was the cheddar style shreds. And now I'm just going to layer this on very gently, because I don't want to disturb the hash browns. And let's see how much of this I can get on here. The last time I just made this with the other quiche, it took the whole thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pour the egg over it and bake it.
So it still crisps up the hash brown.
Yeah.
I just think that'd be so cool to do with other fillings,
Yeah. You could certainly do variations on a theme with this. See how pretty?
Beautiful.
And this is a great thing to give to somebody who is really vegan, because they're going to miss the eggs if they ate eggs. They're going to miss that. And I'm going to rinse my hands off. And when they miss that, if you can give them something like this, this is a great transition food. Now, truth be told, I did an analysis on the Just Egg, and I will tell you that it is pretty much almost zero carbohydrate. It's got 1 gram of carbohydrate, and it's got, of course, no cholesterol, because this is a vegan product. It's got 5 grams of protein, and it's got 5 grams of fat. So it's basically almost 50% fat and 50% protein, which comes from this processed protein mung bean. So this is not your whole food plant-based diet. So everybody hears me talking about a whole food plant-based diet. That's not what this is. This is comfort food. This is treat food. This is something that you have. A treat is not something you have on a regular basis. So I wouldn't have, when you open it up, it has a seal on it. I pulled the seal off so I wouldn't have to struggle with it on camera. And now I'm just going to, I'll show you my technique. I'm just going to pour it around the perimeter to start with, because I wanted to get down and, you know, meet the hash browns like at the bottom. So I went around the perimeter and now I'm just sort of going back and forth. And it takes 2 bottles. So we're done with 1 bottle. And they sell this at Whole Foods, which is where I got it. But it's being, I'm understanding they're going into other grocery stores as well. And I'm going to give it a shake. And then we're going to put some cheese on it and stick it in the oven. Okay, see, it's starting to fill up. Because it wouldn't be fun if the vegetables weren't covered in the egg. You want that custardy. And then it kind of puffs up a little bit. Okay.
Who invented aquafaba? What chef can we thank for
Not
that?
genius. That is absolutely a genius that invented aquafaba. For anybody who doesn't know what aquafaba is, it's the cooking liquid from making chickpeas. And it does all kinds of interesting things. You can froth it up, you can turn it into almost a meringue, or a meringue that's made from chickpea water. So it's not the soaking water. I always tell people, throw out your soaking water. Don't ever cook with your soaking water. But the cooking water has got some interesting properties. Okay, so I don't want to put way too much cheese on it, but I want it to be a little yellow. So I'm going to put a little of this one on it. And then we're done. So I want you to get a good look at this. And my daughter said to cook it for an hour, but my oven, it really takes an hour and 15 minutes at 370. And I was worried about making it too high because I don't want, let's see if I can take this. Okay, now I can't tip it, but there we go. Because it's got the liquid in it. So I didn't, let me put this in here, hold on one second. So you can see, it looks like the egg is all the way up to the side. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But it's because the vegetables are going to compress as the water comes out. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, and you're going to be surprised. Ta-da!
Wow, that's so realistic.
I can.
Hey, Infinite Love and Gratitude says that Sauce Stash makes a homemade version of Just Egg that's oil-free.
Really?
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Sauce Stash. Wow. And where do you get it?
I guess it's not a product. I guess the recipe is on his blog. That sounds fascinating.
SAUCE?
Yep, and stash, like mustache, STACHE. That sounds fascinating.
All right, I'm turning this on to 370, and you can see how beautiful this is. Let's see if I can. Let me put my hand over here so you can see the bottom.
People are asking for the recipe, so you'll send me the recipe and I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah.
I'll write it up. It's a very easy recipe, but you can also find it on my daughter's Instagram. So if you go to, so I was telling you about her name. So her name's Taryn. And then when I became vegan a year before she did. She actually thought I lost my mind. She was at Arizona State at the time. And she's got her own vegan story. She tells it on her YouTube channel, so I won't bore you with her her story, but she had kind of a rude awakening, and her chronic diseases of asthma and acne and exercise-induced asthma went away when she went vegan. And I was so afraid when she first started to eat a plant-based diet that she was going to do it for a short time and give up, and I was going to be, devastated. And then we found out that she was worried I was going to give it up because she didn't think I was going to stick with it, because I, used to love to eat all kinds of foods. But she stuck with it. So she's been vegan just 1 year less than I have been. And when she was in college, she studied communications, and she thought she wanted a vegan business. So Taryn became Vegetarian, and that's her business, Vegetaryn. So at Vegetarian. So there's no A, it's Vege, and then her name, Taryn, all one word. So that's her handle. And she's got, I think, 80,000 followers on Instagram. She's got a t-shirt business that she calls, what kind of activism? She calls it, apparel activism. Her activism is fashion. It's a fashion form of activism. And her t-shirts are all interesting, like this one. So for anybody that hasn't turned in late, this one says just plants with the vegetarian dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. And all of her t-shirts are sort of funny and punny. Nothing is going to say, if you're not vegan, you're eating dead animals. She would never put that on a t-shirt. So she's very subtle in the things that she puts on her t-shirt. So she's got a website, vegetarian.com, and she's got a YouTube. Her YouTube isn't pretty active, but her Instagram is very active, and she posts every single day. And now she's doing her own designs. So she comes out with different designs, and she does food. So where am I going with this? When you go to her Instagram, you know where the highlights are, those little green circles that go horizontally. They're called highlights on Instagram. So if you scroll down the highlights, it's not very far to scroll. You're not scrolling down, you're scrolling across. You'll see quiche. And in there, she's got a short video of how to make a quiche. And she made exactly this one. But I'm going to give you the recipe to put up, because I'll put all the tips and tricks into it.
Thanks. There's a question from Robin. She says, you have such shiny hair. What do you use?
What do I use? I'm trying to remember. I think it's Giovanni, the plant, they've been a cruelty-free product for a long time, and they sell it in the beauty supply store.
Cool.
Giovanni. I'll go look. I tell you the actual name of it. I can send you a picture of it so you can see it. But they sell their products in drugstores. You can get them in CVS, and I think you might be able to get them in Whole Foods, but they're pretty widely available. And I always see them at the festivals. When we had face-to-face festivals, they always had a booth. So I like their products. But what I wanted to tell you about is I'm doing a couple of really cool things. So I've been volunteering with Social Compassion in Legislation. So that's a long name, socialcompassioninlegislation.org. That's the website. And especially if you live in California, and I know you have people that are all over probably the world watching, but this is important because you can start one in your state. In California, this amazing woman, Judy Mancuso, is a force to be reckoned with. She knows how to work the legislature like a knife going through vegan butter. I mean, she just gets it and has passed so many incredible bills to make the world a better place for animals. We passed a couple of years ago, we passed the Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act. That was huge because we were up against Revlon, L'Oreal, all the big cosmetic companies that have mega funds to pay for lobbyists. And we managed, with the help of John Paul DeJorio, he's the owner of the Paul Mitchell products. And he was very instrumental in getting us to do that. But you find yourself a sponsor, you get a group of people that's one of your legislators, either in California, there's either an assembly person or a state senator, and you work your way up to one house, the state Senate, for example, and then it goes to the Senate floor and they vote on your bill. You could fall off at any point. if you go through 3 or 4 or 5 committees, the next committee that does it, where you don't pass, you're done for the year. So it's really it makes sure it's very tenuous. And so anyway, so we've done that, and we passed these bills. We get the bill through the state Senate, and then you start all over again in California in the state assembly. And if you make it to the floor of the state assembly, sometimes they cross and you go back to the floors of each house, and then it goes to the governor, and you cross your fingers and you try to post about it and get everybody to tell the governor to please sign the bill. And sometimes it gets signed. So the Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act, we got it signed in California. It is the law. And what it says is it's not going to wipe off, or wipe out, because this is when Governor Brown was governor, before Governor Newsom. So it's not going to wipe products off the shelves, because that's not good for the economy, even before COVID. But what it says is that any new testing for a product to be sold in California must be cruelty-free. And we did this in collaboration with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. So it helps to work with other organizations to throw your money and your followers and your supporters. And we got that bill passed. And the thing is, California is the 5th largest economy in the world. So if it passes in California, it's not worth it to these cosmetic companies not to make cruelty-free products for other states and then for other countries, because they've got to retool their whole operation to meet California's needs. So basically, we did it in California, and necessarily it's around the world. Now, Europe's been doing this for a long time. So the cruelty-free has been going on in Europe way before we understood about that. But in all the other states, including New York and Texas and, big states with lots of people, it is the law. And they have, I think it's 3 years to get everything turned over. But once they have a new fragrance, once they have a new bottle, once they have something new that requires testing, they can't use animals anymore. So I'm very proud of that.
That's amazing. Thank you.
And we passed the plant-based options bill, which still people don't know about it. And I think we need to tweak it a little bit, but want everybody in California to know. And Governor Brown signed this into law. It is the law. Every acute care hospital, that's like any hospital you go to, every acute care hospital, every nursing home, and every prison in the state of California is required to offer at least one plant-based meal at each meal service. Now, that's for the patients, that's for the inmates. It's not in the cafeteria necessarily if you're visiting somebody. But if you're a patient, God forbid, in a hospital, you can say, I want the plant-based, what's your plant-based option? I want the plant-based option. And I had an accident in March, and I was in the hospital. I'll tell you about it because it was stupid. I was cleaning out a cabinet, one of my tall cabinets here, and I was standing on a stool, which I never should have done. I should have used a ladder, and I should have had my son here to help me, have him do it. And I fell getting down, and I broke my pelvis, and I had to be hospitalized for a week. It was not fun. And when I was in there, it's like, vegan food. I'm going to see how well they follow the law. This was Kaiser, and I figured Kaiser's going to do a great job. It's like pulling teeth to get it. Oh, I don't think we have that. And they gave me like raw tofu and white rice and said it's vegan. And so I realized that so many people, even though it is the law, they don't know about it. So it's important for us, the population, to tell our doctors, did you know there's a plant-based bill? There's a plant-based law that if I'm in the hospital, I can get as a patient. I'm authorized by law. They have to provide it for me. And if they don't have it, maybe they should go out and buy it, but they should actually think about it. So think about having products and meal plans for vegan patients. So we're going to be seeing more of that. I had the idea that when I was in the hospital this last time, that because no one knows about it, and you know how when you sign into the hospital, you've got to sign all these papers that you know about this and you know about that. So I figured we need to make that, tweak the bill and make that a law that when you check into a hospital or you're admitted even through emergency, that once they come to do paperwork with you, they advise you about plant-based options. And that people at least know about it. And I think it'll bring it to the forefront, because I'm sure lots of people that do eat plant-based probably think, oh, the hospital can't really give me anything. Okay, I'll just eat the meat. Even if you've had a heart attack, even if you've had some kind of cardiovascular disease, a blood clot or a stroke, which I think we should take advantage of that. People should be captive audiences, and we should teach them how to eat, healthy and plant-based. So that's one of the things I do. socialcompassionandlegislation.org. Sign up. Get our newsletter. We won't sell your email to anybody else. And if you're in California, we have this wonderful system where we pre-write letters that need to go various places. And then we just want you to fill in your name, your email address, your zip code, and the letter goes. We print them out. And then we have a lawyer, we have 2 paid employees in this organization. Everybody else is a volunteer like me. But we've got a lawyer who lives in Sacramento, and he literally prints these out, and he takes them to every single member of the legislature and says, these are from your constituents, so people that live in your area. And they get a nice big stack, and it does influence them. So in order for that to happen, people have to sign up for the email. And when you get the email with a letter about a bill, and you think it's a good idea, give them your email address and send it forward. You can change it, but nobody wants to rewrite letters. It's already written for you. If you want to change it, you can.
That's amazing. I love the work that you're doing, and Jane, I can't wait to have her on the show. It's tireless being an activist. We have a wonderful activist watching, our mutual friend Linda Middlesworth, who recently got out of jail for her activism.
Yeah, hey Linda.
That's
wonderful. Yeah, I know. I was mad at her first because I thought, how did she manage to do that? But the reality is, after listening to her story, and she was on Jane's show yesterday, the reality is she was just holding a sign protesting. She wasn't doing she wasn't displaying any aberrant behavior. I mean, Linda I love her. She's 76 years old, and she was PETA's sexiest vegan over 50 a few years back. And let me tell you, she can put me away on push-ups and sit-ups and calisthenics, because she is one tough lady. And I'm so proud of her. She's a Food for Life instructor like I am. And she was just protesting, holding a sign. If they had said to her, we're going to arrest you unless you leave, she would have left. But there wasn't a permit. Apparently you needed a permit to protest, and they didn't get a permit. So unfortunately, she got arrested and spent, I don't know, almost 20 hours in a jail cell with people who had no masks on or refused to wear masks, sitting on a cold cement floor.
That's just crazy. And I bet there's no vegan options in jail.
They're supposed to be. Prisons. Yeah, they're supposed to be, because I don't think jails are prisons. So in prison, if you are like a long-term inmate, the bill we passed is nursing homes, acute care hospitals, nursing homes, and prisons. So I don't know if jails qualify as prisons, because they're usually short-term.
That's what I mean. She probably wouldn't. I mean, she was there, I guess, for 20 hours. I bet she couldn't have gotten something.
Yeah, it was terrible. So I'm doing that. And now I'm working with the Plant Pure communities, and we are now trying to get the governors of many states, not every state, but many states, to adopt a vegan diet according to the Plant Pure communities, which is pretty much an SOS-free, whole food plant-based diet. So we're trying to get celebrities and get physicians, which I'm not having a hard time with, to sign this letter, and then get somebody. I'm trying to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to do it, deliver it via email to the governor, and then put a full page ad in some of the big newspapers, and let that just sort of create a buzz. Oh my God, Governor Newsom is going vegan for a month. Maybe. We hope he'll take the challenge.
That would be so cool, wouldn't it?
So that's what I'm going to work on today.
It's too bad Schwarzenegger couldn't have done it while he was in office, huh?
Yes, that would have been incredible. But he did Game Changers, so he may be sensitive to it. And he may say something to Governor Newsom. I mean, just think about the impact of that. Reducing comorbidities in California, because people who do more, that have, and I learned this from all the doctors that I had on my show. They all said, people with the more comorbidities, the greater the chance that you're not going to do so well. And it doesn't mean necessarily, I don't know what's going on with Trump. He certainly has a lot of comorbidities, but for the most part, when you look at the big picture, people with lots of comorbidities tend to do the worst, have the worst outcomes. And so the best thing that even Dr. Neil Barnard said is, if you have high blood pressure, if you have high cholesterol, change your diet.
Are you still doing a lot of presentations with wearing the hat of PCRM cooking instructor?
I haven't done as many. I did them in January. I did a whole bunch of them. I did something. I did it for the second time. I went to the upper level management at Physicians Committee, and I said, "Do you want to do another 21-day kickstart?" Because we did one 4 years ago, and we taught the kickstart is literally a 21-day kickstart. And there's an app you can go to the app store, literally download the 21-day vegan kickstart, and you get the entire kickstart for free. There's no, oh, we'll give you a teaser version, and if you want the full version, we need your credit card, and then we're going to charge you no matter what. Even if you cancel, we'll charge you. You know, all those companies that do stuff like that. Well, Physicians Committee doesn't take your credit card, and they give you the full version when you sign up for it, period. That's it. All they want is your email. And it's so cool because they've got videos, they've got recipes, videos, grocery lists, everything that you need to think about, what am I going to make tonight if I adopt a vegan diet, a plant-based diet. So I taught that for 21 days, and I got different celebrities. So either I cooked it or I got somebody to actually prepare the food for like day 4. And we went around filming them. It was in January when we could do that. It was before COVID. But we did that. And I think there were 750,000 downloads of the app during the 21 days. So.
That's amazing. Well, Sue says she loves this woman and appreciates all the work you do. So
everybody I think should do one thing. If everybody just finds one thing to volunteer for, one thing to make the world better for people or for animals or for the environment, you don't have to do it all. Just find one thing and then get good at it and become a leader and get other people to do it too. So my goal is to help make social compassion legislation so well known around the country that people are going to, in Nevada are going to go, we're going to do it in Nevada, in Colorado, so we're going to do the same thing in Colorado. And if anybody in another state wants information, we'll share it. It's not like we want to be the only ones. We want it to spread and other people to set up their own, because it's state government, so we can't really help too much in the other states. Although we do have a wet market bill before the legislature in New York. Our wet market bill died during COVID, so we want to outlaw wet markets. But the wet market bill, I think, in New York is still alive.
What's the thing you're doing with Kappa Road? I'm not sure everyone knows what that is unless they watch the episode with Rabbi Shmuley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to be on his board. I was on his board for 4 years. So Kaparot is it's a ritual. It's not, I'm going to tell everyone, I'm not anti-Semitic. I am Jewish. I was raised Jewish husband, Jewish kids. My son is writes for the New York Times in Israel. And so, we are very, very committed and very proud Jews. So between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there is a ritual that's performed by some very religious Jews. You see the Persian Jews doing it, you see the Hasidic Jews doing it, and you see the Chabad Jews doing it. So they tend to be on the Orthodox side of Judaism, although there's some Orthodox people that don't do this at all. And the ritual is because Rosh Hashanah is the new year and Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, and there's about 10 days in between. So in Judaism, you atone for your sins, and you not only atone for your personal sins, you atone for the sins other people have done against humanity. It's sort of a big picture thing, and I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense to sort of bring everybody up to a much higher spiritual level. And these people that practice Kaparot or Kaporos, it's like Shabbos or Shabbat. It depends which tone, I guess, you have.
Tomato.
Yes, exactly. So their idea is they take a chicken and you pay usually $36 because everything is in multiples of 18, which is called high to life. So there's like a numerology component to this. So it's usually $36 for a chicken, and they take these and they're spent egg-laying hens. So the egg-laying hens, when their egg production goes below a certain quotient, that's it for them. It's terrible. and they're usually have, when you pick them up, you can actually feel their bones break because they've been forced to give to produce so many eggs that their bones are just so weak that even gently picking them up and holding them as carefully as you can, you feel you feel them break in your hands. It's just horrible. So to pick these birds up by their wings behind their back like this and swing them around 3 times, even if they're doing it gently, is very painful to these birds. The idea is that your sins go to the bird, and then after the bird is swung around, then the bird's neck is cut in a kosher manner, and they suffocate and they die. And it is the most disgusting thing in the world to watch because they don't die quickly. It takes a long time. They don't cut their head off. They just make a cut in their neck. So just like anyone, they've got to bleed out enough to drop their blood pressure to lose consciousness and then die. And it doesn't happen right away. And when you talk to some of these Orthodox Jews, and I have as a nurse, and said to them, when do you think the animal dies? They said, oh, the minute the blade is at the neck. And I said, but that doesn't make sense. If you're looking at a cow, the cow's got a large volume of blood. The kosher slaughter at one time was seen to be a more humane way than beating an animal to death, but it isn't anymore. And now that we understand the physiology of death, the way they kill them is horrible. So I hope this wasn't too graphic, but
no, I mean, I don't like to hear it, but people have to understand. They have to meet their meat. They have to understand that it's not this happy cow in a field.
And these chickens, they go with their children, and the children just are little robots. I mean, it's got to hurt them, but they're told you have to be strong. Like, this is what we do. This is important. It's what our family does. And I just think it's horrible. I personally think
it's barbaric, and it's not, even very well-known religious people are standing up against it now.
Yes. It's terrible. So I'm a plaintiff in the court trial on the West Coast.
Wow. When do you have time to eat right and exercise?
I need to exercise more. I really do. That's on my list of things to do. I do eat right because I know if I keep healthy food in the house. See, look at all my beautiful fruit. Okay. See, so I have persimmons and lemons and guavas and prickly pear. I love persimmons. So when I'm hungry, I tend to snack on nature's candy that comes already wrapped for me. I mean, it's so cool.
That is great. Well, thank you so much for what you and Jane make a great team. And a lot of the stuff you do, I just can't do the pig vigils. I mean, I could, but I would prefer not to because it's just, I'm so sensitive.
You don't have to. I think that everybody should do something. Find something you can do. Sign up to get the emails from Social Compassion. You get those emails. They're maybe 2 a month or something. It's not like you get emails every day. And get your name on there, and you can, from your computer, you can fill that out, and it means so much. Social media, taking a great post that they do and sharing it is a great form of activism, and you don't have to be exposed to suffering animals.
Yeah.
And
so you'll please put all those links when you send me the recipe so people can sign up for Social Compassion.
I'm going to send my computer right now, and I'm going to send you everything. And
right, because I agree, not everybody can be on the front lines, but even if it's just sending an email or, like you say, sharing a post. JP always says volunteer work is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on Earth, and I do believe that everybody can do something regardless of their schedule or finances. There's always some type of volunteer work or activism, even in a small way, that somebody can do.
This is free.
Yep.
It's free. And then, I just think it's so important. People say they don't like social media, but it's really, and that's why Jane does Jane Unchained on Facebook and YouTube, because you get things the mainstream media doesn't allow you to have access to. So, you don't have to be gossiping about other people or wasting your time with stupid posts. But if you just look to the things that are meaningful, I love Milton Mills' posts. I think he's brilliant. I love Dr. Michael Greger's posts. I think they're fabulous. And I think they're really food for thought. So I love taking that opportunity. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, they've got a 9 o'clock show every day now. It's on, I think it's on here at 9 o'clock, on there at noon. And they've got they do a live Facebook show. And then they have another one, the Physicians Mailbag. And then they've got a PCRM live. So they're doing even more shows. And I think it's great because you don't have to spend a lot of money to go to a conference to hear someone speak. You can get it for free on your computer. So I think signing up for Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, become a member, send them $15. Activism costs a lot of money. One of the things we did at Physicians Committee is we outlawed dog labs in every single medical school in the United States and Canada. Done. No medical student will ever have to practice on a medical student, not residents, but medical student. There's no more dog lab. It's done, because there's computer methods and robotic methods that are much more intricate and give you the result that you need. You can train, because you never know what's going to happen to the dog, but you can program the computer to really challenge the medical student to have to figure out, well, what could it be? So you can do that with a computer. You can't do that with a tortured, dying dead animal or almost dead animal.
God, yeah, it's just incredible. These practices still exist.
And, and now we're working on residencies. We're working at trying to get rid of the dog labs in residencies.
Well, with all of your frontline work, I hope you and Jane take some time for self-care that you can just kind of get away from it.
Yeah. We need to do more.
And do some fun stuff. Well, this has been great. People really love what
so
you're doing, and that's just, I just think I always learn at least one new thing on every show, and just even if you didn't want to make the quiche, just that idea of using the hash browns as a crust. I mean, I'm already thinking of a million things I can make.
Yeah, I love it.
I just can't believe that they cook when stuff is on top of them, but I see that they do.
I mean, it's not super. I mean, you can see here, there.
Yeah. But still, yeah, and maybe even pre-cook it a little. But you're giving me so many ideas.
Yeah,
so
thank
really
you. Play around with it, and you don't have to have the highly because really, when you eat a pie, there's so much calories in the pie crust because it's usually the ground flour, whatever the ground flour is. So there's not, and then there's the fat to hold it together. So anyway, so sign up, become a member of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Please join. Especially if you're in California, social compassion legislation. And if you're not, you can follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram, at Social Compassion. I'll put that all down. But think about doing it in your own state. Why can't Delaware do something? What about North Dakota? Do you have any listeners in Texas? I'm sure you do. Copy us. We've done the hard work. You can do that. Get a group of people, 4 or 5 people together and go, we're going to pass a law here.
Yeah, not to change subjects, but people are asking if they could see you slice the quiche. They're just wondering what it looks like inside. And when you get a chance, I don't know if you can see the comments, Lisa, but hopefully they'll stay on YouTube. You can read the
I'm going to go and I'll respond.
Right, and Linda says, you are capitalized, amazing, Lisa Karlan. And so many other nice comments like from Jean and things like that.
So there we go. All right, so we are going to cut the quiche.
And Dina wants you to take a bite. You guys are hilarious.
Okay. You get a plate out here. Get one of these.
It's so pretty, isn't it? Guys, tomorrow on the show is Dr. Robert Osfeld. And don't forget, if you buy the book on Amazon, and yes, Angela, I found out it can't be Kindle between now and October 18th at midnight. Send an email to chefajbonus@yahoo.com. We'll send you all the bonuses, including the book on audio. You got to talk, Lisa, because it won't show me. It'll only show me if you don't talk.
I'll talk. I just said it's Zoom, so it needs me to do that. Okay, so the first slice is always the hardest. Oh, it's going to come out one piece. Yay!
Wow. That is gorgeous.
Look at that. How great is that? Now, you know what? I think it needed to cook a little bit longer. What I learned with this one, it was a little soft here, and I probably would have let it go another 10 minutes. You feel it when it comes out. This feels nice and solid. This feels a little soft, so I actually will cook this one a little bit longer. See, it's a little soft in the center. But look at this part over here. And I'm going to take a mouthful. I'm going to take a bite. Okay. Up. There we go.
Looks like restaurant quality.
It looks really, it does look good. I'm very proud of it. Oops. Oops. Computer started to fall. It's delicious. Absolutely delicious.
That'd be a great brunch or even company dish, especially for people that are new to plant-based.
Right. They think they can't have anything decadent like this. And you serve with soup or salad and you're done.
Well, you are not done because your work is tireless, but we are done here for today.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. It's just been wonderful connecting with you, and it's great seeing you guys here. Please come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. when Dr. Robert Osfeld will be broadcasting from New York. He's a wonderful plant-based cardiologist. Thank you, Angela, for the super chat donation and for another one that I'm not supposed to acknowledge. So thank you so much for that. And we'll be getting the recipe up very soon. Lisa's going to.
I'm going to go. I'll email it to you as soon as I get done. I'm going to go work on it now.
Right. Check the show notes. And thanks again for the tireless work that you and Jane and everybody involved with Jane UnChained does. And I can't wait to have her on the show in the next few weeks. Thanks again, Lisa. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.